Alright, so I did Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and these are just kind of a preview of my characters. So I first did Goldilocks. I had to make her yellow because she's Goldilocks, of course. And I made the more detail on the hair so it kind of stands out, gives her some curls. And I thought she was a little plain with the body of a big circle, so I added an arm. These are my bears. I ended up actually not using any of my bears, but with the scenes that I chose, but these are some of them. With Papa Bear, I added a bow tie because he was plain and simple, and I didn't like the cheeks on him. I thought it was too feminine to have kind of like that cheek that stands out. So I added them on the mama bear and the baby bear. And then I also added a bow in mama bear's hair, and I added a paper hat that baby bear made, kind of make him look more of a kid. And then later in the scene, this is one of I had to remake Goldilocks in order to make the scene work. It's where the porridge is too hot. So I added some food in her mouth to help explain that it was too hot, like there's hot coming out of it. And then this is my first scene that I started, which is going to the cabin. So I started with some trees. I kind of made them a little slanted, but not too much. So I played around with it a little bit, make them straight, slant them. I liked the slant of them because it kind of made it a little bit more of mysterious. In the circles, I chose circles because I didn't want to give it too much of a scary forest because it's not that scary of a forest, but it makes it a little bit more softer, a little bit more like a playable forest. So I added in Goldilocks, and then I added in the cottage. I added more trees because we're in the forest surrounding the house, and then this is just the process of building the cottage. I moved around with windows, played with the door, the color of the door, and added a doorknob, and then added a window because I felt like the door was too plain, and played around with that. Added the chimney. I played around with some smoke of the chimney because it's a cabin or a cottage, and so I played around with color to see what would pop the best, and then I played around with the background of the color. I didn't like the black because it was way too much, so I kept it white, and then I just added more of a landing or the grass of the house, and then I left the chimney smoke white, and then I just added some lines for the cottage because I felt like it didn't explain that it was a cottage. And then I moved Goldilocks around to see what I could do with her to make her more visible. And then I started my next scene. This is the one that is too hot. So I wanted to make Goldilocks viewable and explain that it's way too hot and that she's screaming that it's burning her mouth or whatnot. So I added some things in there just to explain more. I didn't like the yellow. I just kind of played around with it more, and then I eventually ended using the yellow because it helped explain more. And then I didn't like the position of it, so I moved it over because it made more sense with her coming in one direction on the right-hand side. And then this is a scene with the chairs where it's too big, too little, just right. So I played around with size and where they're gonna go within their room. And then I didn't like all white, so I tried playing with color, but I eventually just used white because I wanted the chairs to stick out more. And I thought that the black would make it way too dark of a room. And then I used the same jagged area to know that she chose the right chair. And then I remade Goldilocks into a front profile and made her sitting in a chair. So then she's sitting in the chair, and just to like show the scene more. And then these are my last 3 scenes as a final.
Why did you choose the colors that you did?
Well, I had to feel like Goldilocks needed to be gold because she's the main character and I wanted her to pop out more than the other scenes. And I chose brown because it's more of a softer brown and it doesn't stick out, but it still gives across the message of the important objects that need to be important.
So you didn't end up using any of the bears in the last 2 slides?
No. With the scenes that I chose, I didn't feel like they fit with the scenes because I wanted them to be more focused on Goldilocks, I guess.
I like the lines you put on the cottage because it's like an actual real cottage, like a cottage house and something.
With the jagged edges on the second scene, it's like when I look at it, it's like painful. And then when she's sitting on the chair and that's the one she chooses, I feel like she doesn't act like her mouth and the way the jagged lines are. I feel like she's not enjoying sitting in like the chair.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I could change it. Would it be like better if it was a different color or?
With like the pointed edges, I don't think I would use the pointed edges whatsoever. Just maybe like make her smile without the edges, like more facial expression.
We have a time problem here, so I want to jump in and say this right now about this because it's important. I can see bits of it creeping in every presentation now. You're not doing a cartoon, okay? It's an illustration. Think of the illustration you might see in a children's book or something like that. And you've got a great Goldilocks face. She's perfect. Use the face to show those things. So instead of those exclamation points there, take them out, make Goldie's face bigger, and make her eyes show the hotness or something. You know, because you can change those eyes. You don't have to have the orphan Annie eye for every one of those things. And you know what you're doing there. You're doing a good job. I mean, it's a nice presentation, and you indicated stuff well. But it is overly cartoonish, and we want to get that out of there. Absolutely right. I think Cassie's right. Take those jagged lines and stuff out of there. Instead, make the chairs speak for themselves and make Goldilocks speak for it. You can change Goldilocks's expression, as Cassie suggested, excellent idea. But, you know, if you want to show the difference between Mama and Papa's chair, what I would suggest is maybe you put some lacy little doilies on Mama's or something like that. And show the pleasure in Goldilocks' face because Cassie's right, those lines are really working against you there.
Okay.
I'm sorry we ran out of time on this. You did an excellent job here with one thing that I think was kind of a violation of things, but you did a good job anyway in showing us the difference in what, you know, in each slide with very few slides. And I thought you did a good job. Okay. Thank you.